An overview of the core changes introduced in version 70. Admin Web Frontend. Version 70 starts with a redesigned web login built for modern administration. Passkeys are supported as part of the sign-in flow, reducing reliance on passwords while improving both security and usability. Along the authentication, the new admin portal is structured around speed and clarity. Navigation is consistent, spacing is calmer, and the layout is designed for extended administration sessions, whilst keeping the functionality close to one-to-one with previous versions. A persistent sidebar, global search, and keyboard shortcuts allow direct access to settings without navigating deep menu structures. The system remains familiar while becoming significantly easier to operate. Maintenance actions such as updates, restarts, and snapshots are presented as explicit operations, making day-to-day administration more controlled and predictable. Interface preferences, including dark mode, are available to support longer working sessions and consistent visual comfort. Within tenant administration, filters remain visible and actions are clear across object lists such as auto attendance and extensions, with visible and straightforward action buttons. Object creation follows a predictable flow. For example, auto attendance can be created through a focused modal, with the option to clone settings from existing accounts. This cloning mechanism supports faster rollout, reduces configuration errors, and helps standardize behavior across sites or departments. For extensions, operationally relevant settings are organized into clear top-level tabs, including registration, permissions, buttons, and webhooks, while in-page navigation provides direct access to specific configuration sections within each tab. The same structural approach applies to other system components, including IVR nodes, address book, and general tenant settings. Lists remain consistent, and new objects are introduced through a single, clear action. Button templates allow phone button layouts to be defined per device model, supporting consistent behavior across deployments. Device management provides visibility into registered devices using identifiers such as MAC and IPEI, with clear associations to extensions and models. Integration and automation are treated as first-class features. Webhooks expose PBX events as structured callbacks, with configurable authentication and request methods, and support integration with external systems such as CRMs. Status views, accessible from a dedicated sidebar, provide a clear and searchable history of logins, configuration changes, graphs, call activity, making it easy to trace events and understand what happened and when. Selecting a call entry reveals detailed call information, including an overview, logs, involved agents, and recordings, while a dedicated tab provides access to all recorded calls. Voice agents. Version 70 introduces voice agents powered by AI as part of the PBX call flow. These agents operate inside existing IVR and routing logic rather than replacing it. From tenant administration, voice agent configuration appears alongside other call handling components. Each distinct call behavior is defined through its own voice agent, so different outcomes or handling paths are expressed explicitly rather than being combined into a single flow. Call handling can be configured using classic DTM-FIVR or through JavaScript, where predefined templates provide a structured starting point. One of these templates is the OpenAI Assistant, which allows voice agent behavior to be configured using predefined fields rather than custom logic. Access to the AI service is configured through an API key. The PBX is connected to OpenAI using a tenant-level key created through the OpenAI API platform, keeping external access explicit and under administrative control. After the API key is available, it can be used in one of the predefined templates, such as the OpenAI Assistant. This template is where voice agent behavior is configured in a structured way, using predefined fields rather than custom logic. Configuration begins with the personality profile, which sets how the voice agent presents itself and how it interacts with callers. The greeting follows and can be adjusted per language, allowing the same voice agent to introduce itself appropriately in different regions. Spoken intent is handled through trigger phrases. When a phrase is recognized, the call is routed to the associated destination, such as an extension or queue, without relying on key presses or fixed menus, allowing calls to move forward more naturally. A timeout destination is specified to ensure the call continues even if intent is not resolved. Voice characteristics are selected explicitly, controlling how the agent sounds during interaction. Additional settings, such as timeout duration and codec selection, keep media handling consistent with the rest of the PBX. Once saved, the system generates the corresponding JavaScript automatically. This code represents the voice agent logic as it runs inside the IVR. A SIP trunk is configured for the voice agent to handle audio exchange with the external service. This is where the PBX establishes how audio is exchanged with the external service. From the provider list, OpenAI is selected as the SIP trunk type. This makes the AI voice service available as a standard media endpoint inside the PBX. Authentication is handled using an OpenAI username, which is generated through the OpenAI API platform. This keeps external access explicit and tenant-controlled. Once entered, the SIP trunk behaves like any other trunk in the system. Media is negotiated through SIP, while call control and routing remain fully managed by the PBX. Call routing is handled in the dial plan. The default plan is edited to add a new routing entry, where preference is set explicitly and OpenAI is selected as the trunk, making the voice agent available as part of normal call routing. For the dial plan to work correctly, the pattern name used in the dial plan must match the pattern referenced in the voice agent JavaScript, where call.dial references OpenAI as the selected routing target. To ensure that the correct dial plan is used, the general settings display the same dial plan that was edited earlier as part of the routing configuration. To deliver real-time call events back to the PBX, a webhook is created in the OpenAI platform. This webhook represents the event channel used between the AI service and the PBX during conversational call handling. The endpoint URL uses the PBX address with OpenAI appended, indicating where OpenAI will send events related to voice agent interactions. This directs incoming status notifications to a dedicated endpoint inside the PBX. The subscribed event type is realtime.call.incoming, which represents incoming call events that the PBX can use to initiate or manage an AI session. This event carries the essential call context without carrying the call media itself. After creation, a unique identifier is generated for the webhook, keeping this event path distinct from other integrations. Emergency alerts and notifications. Version 70 includes an alerts feature for emergency situations where users need to raise an issue quickly, clearly, and in a controlled way. Each alert represents a specific emergency scenario. The idea is to define these scenarios ahead of time, so users don't have to think about process when something critical happens. Control is deliberate. Administrators decide exactly which users are allowed to trigger an alert and which users are allowed to clear it once the situation is resolved. Alert behavior is designed for real emergency conditions and can be fully customized by administrators. A contextual comment can be added for clarity, while notifications can override do not disturb settings, trigger callbacks, and remain active until the alert is explicitly handled. Notifications can be sent through phones, mobile apps, email, SMS, paging, or webhooks, depending on how the alert is configured, with optional HTML content for richer messages. And the same idea applies to deactivation. You can send a clear message when an alert is cleared, so recipients know the situation is resolved. Once saved, the alert becomes part of the system. It's ready to be used immediately, without additional setup or configuration later. Control matters, so alerts are also governed by permissions. In the group permissions, you can explicitly grant the right to manage alerts. This is what keeps emergency alerts safe. The feature is powerful, so access is intentional. From the admin side, you manage users and extensions as usual. And on the user side, alerts are available directly in the portal, so authorized users can trigger them without hunting for a process. When an alert is triggered, the PBX executes the predefined response immediately, using the rules set by administrators. External presence sharing. Version 70 adds external presence sharing, allowing presence information to be published and consumed across PBX domains while keeping it controlled and intentional. In presence sharing, an inbound publishing entry defines what gets exposed. It is tied to a specific account and can be named clearly for operational use. Once saved, the publishing entry generates a unique URL endpoint that is used by outbound subscriptions to connect and consume presence information from another tenant or system. The outbound side is configured on a separate PBX, where subscriptions are managed and local numbers are linked to remote presence endpoints. Creating an outbound subscription connects a local account using the remote presence URL. This is the controlled link that consumes a published presence feed from another system. Subscriptions stay easy to audit. The list keeps the operational mapping visible without extra navigation. Navigation remains consistent. Presence sharing stays accessible while moving through account administration, reinforcing that presence is part of core PBX operations. On the user side, external accounts appear directly in the phone system interface. This is where published presence becomes usable, not just configured. Presence states are driven by real account status. When an extension state changes, the shared presence updates through the configured publishing and subscription link. The external account then reflects the updated state, including the reason label. The result is controlled presence visibility across systems, managed inside the PBX. Skill-based routing. Version 70 supports skill-based routing, allowing queues to select agents based on defined skill levels rather than simple availability. Configuration stays inside the admin portal. Skills, routing rules, and agent profiles are managed as part of normal tenant administration. Within call queues, routing stays structured. Queues, assigned agents, and related objects remain accessible from one consistent navigation, while skills can represent anything from technical knowledge to language or role. Queue numbers represent different entry points into the queue, allowing calls to express intent such as platform, product, or support category. A required skill is selected and assigned a target level, expressing preference rather than enforcing a hard cutoff. An optional minimum level can also be set, ensuring agents below the threshold are excluded from routing. On the agent side, skills are assigned per extension, so routing decisions reflect real staffing and expertise. Each extension profile holds the operational data needed for routing. Adding the required skill to the agent profile completes the loop between routing requirements and agent capability. The result is controlled matching at scale. Queues express what a call needs, agents express what they can handle, and the PBX routes accordingly inside version 70. Snapshots and service flag event. Version 70 keeps maintenance and operational controls directly accessible from the sidebar. Under maintenance, snapshots provide a practical safety mechanism for system changes. A snapshot captures a point-in-time state, so change work is done with a known rollback point available. Snapshots remain actionable. A selected entry exposes administrative actions such as restore or deletion, keeping recovery and cleanup in the same controlled interface. In multi-tenant environments, the tenants list provides a clear overview of each tenant's status, with filtering, batch actions, and direct access to tenant settings from the same view. Service flags extend that same control into day-to-day operations. The service flags view combines a weekly schedule with event-based exceptions, making timing behavior explicit and predictable. Schedules are visual. Hours are defined directly on the weekly grid, making it possible to configure time-based rules, such as an 8 to 5 window, with precise start and end times while preserving the surrounding weekly context. Exceptions are handled as events. The events table keeps a clean list with filtering and a dedicated add action, so one-off changes are tracked separately from recurring hours. The same configuration page includes operational helpers like calendar-based holiday import, keeping common scheduling needs close to the service flag logic. Creating an exception event is done through a focused modal. The event receives a name and a defined start, with optional time precision when required. An end date can be added for multi-day exceptions, keeping the exception bounded and removing ambiguity about how long the rule remains active. Exception hours are defined as a specific time window. Hours during the exception can be edited independently, so an event can apply to a partial day rather than forcing an all-day rule. Hours are confirmed in a dedicated dialog, then returned to the event for review. The schedule field reflects the configured window, keeping the intent visible before saving. Once saved, the event appears in the list with its date range and hours. More information, support, and documentation are available through the links provided in the description. For direct inquiries, contact sales@vodia.com.